that said, let's make it easier for new people to arrive. And if we could, let's leave the middle ones open. Like if y'all don't mind sliding over one, just so if somebody comes in, it's going to be hard to get on the inside. And that way, we've created a more welcoming space, a more inclusive space for all the folks that are coming to our events, right? And so that's just an idea that I like to share with everybody, so that when you're planning your event and you're doing your thing on your campus, what can you do to make sure that when folks get there, they feel like they're in the right place, that they feel welcome, right? See how easy you just made it for these folks to come in the room? Oh my gosh, this is so good. We're so glad you're here. You make us better. You make us better. Right on, right on. Well, my name's Jason, and you are in a workshop called Leadership Transitions, or like Passing the Torch. I don't remember the exact specific title. But it's what my goal today is to help you come up with ideas on how to help your newest members transition into your current roles. And also, I want to help you advocate for yourselves in your current role so that you can get information from the person who just left your position, right? Because that's very important. But to start off with, I would love to hear from you. What is something that you know now, after being in Lincolnshire, Chicago, Massachusetts, Illinois, wherever in the world we are, right? What is something that you know now that you didn't know 2 days ago? Go ahead and grab a pen, and I want you to write this down. Write down something that you know now, and it can be any category of things, right? Something maybe you learned about yourself, something you learned from somebody on stage, something you learned from another school. What is just something that you know now that's new in your brain that you did not know 2 days ago? Anybody need a notepad?
Yeah,
and a pen? Yeah, of course. This hotel is so awesome in that they provide us with all of these things. Thank you, people, for things. All right, you need a notepad. You need a notepad. You get a notepad. Who gets a notepad over here? You get a notepad. You get a notepad. Oh my gosh. And so if we run out of notepads, you can rip your notepads and oh, sorry about that. You're good. All right. You need a notepad? Oh, of course. Thank you, Marriott. Everybody say thank you, Marriott. Thank you, Marriott. All right, so you're writing down something that you know now that you didn't know before. So there's going to be a lot of little takeaways throughout your workshops when you go into them, and you're going to be leading meetings throughout your life as a student leader, right? So steal ideas, right? If you see presenters do certain things, write those down. Those I call those writer-downers, right? Like I get to present all the time, so there's things that I've learned from other people that make ed sessions work better, or help engage the audience, right? So don't hesitate to notice or try to notice things that you wouldn't have thought. Like maybe, and that can be the thing that you know now that you didn't know 2 days ago. Maybe that idea is the idea that you should write stuff down, right? Again, I said this yesterday in the opening keynote, you're gonna hear things the whole time, and unless you write them down, you're just gonna forget them. And if they're writer-downer worthy, then they're shareable worthy, then you wanna be ready to share those. Because the school spent money on you to get here, right? And you're here representing your school, you're an ambassador. All right, who would like to volunteer the thing they know now that they did not know 2 days ago? Thank you.
I now know that I can use my talents for more than I originally thought.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so good. Can you give us a specific?
So I lead, I'm the president of student government and my sorority and a few other clubs. And like seeing all the different companies and presenters and stuff here showed me different job opportunities that I could have gone, or that I could follow or explore.
Yeah. The skills that you have now would transfer to those jobs.
Yeah.
Or that jobs that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Are there? Yeah. So you probably saw some things that you didn't even know were possibilities. You didn't know you could be a still walking clown. But think about the possibilities for all of you to become a still walking clown. This is great. I haven't yet seen one here, but I'm just using that as an example. All right, you wrote something down. What is something that you know now that you didn't know then?
That leaders can be toxic.
Did y'all hear that? That leaders can be toxic, but not in this room. No, none of you. you're all non-toxic. You can all be eaten by children. That's a toxicity joke. That was mine. Thank you very much. So I also want you to notice that as a brainstorming technique, this might be a writer downer. As a brainstorming technique, I asked everybody in the room to write down the thing that they learned. I didn't say, hey, everybody, room, hey, room, everybody in the room, what is something that you know now that you didn't know then? Then you would have all just stared at me, right? But I gave you time to process the question. And now that I know that everyone has an answer, because you might not have taken the time to process the question and write the answer, I now know that I can do something like this. Hey, what'd you write down on your piece of paper?
I learned that I kind of need to start leveraging other people and put more trust in other people and not just try and do everything myself.
That's awesome. So you need to learn how to delegate better, right? It's hard. That's not easy, right? So that technique that I just shared with you, you can apply that technique to brainstorming for your next holiday party. If you're the leader of your group and they come into the room and you're like, okay, everybody, what should we do for our Valentine's party? What do you want to do for our Valentine's party? Let's pretend we're doing that right now. Hey, everybody, what do you want to do for our Valentine's party? Anybody have any ideas? Okay, I heard one. There were no hands up, but check this out. Hey, everybody, I've got pads of paper and pens on the table for the next 2 minutes. Make a list of all the things we should do at the party. And then y'all go, and then I'm the president of the committee, and I'm like, look at all these great ideas we're getting, right? And we're generating them. And then I can get you to talk about them amongst yourself, and then we come up with a comprehensive list of what we learned at the conference so far, right? And boom, now we've got all these ideas for our Valentine's party. We should have candy, right? So just that technique alone is something that is a writer-downer. That's worth you doing in your own meetings, right? All right, in the back corner, what is something that you know now that you didn't know 2 days ago?
Mine was very similar to his, just healthy delegation. Even though it's hard, confidence in your team, and remembering that you're not the only one with an idea that could help.
Oh yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that, yeah. Is anybody else really excited to speak publicly right now? Yes, thank you so much, yay!
Something I know now that I didn't know before is how many similarities I share with student leaders across the country, such as like our mindset, skills, lifestyles, and morals.
Oh, that's awesome. Besties, right? It's so great. I'm taking my name tag off because it's rattling and it finally is distracting me, so I'm just putting it down. My name is still Jason, right? Just so you know. And I have it written over here in tiny, but there's my Instagram too, so we can all be besties forever and ever, until the satellites fall from the sky. All right? So, you learned that you have something in common with more people here, and obviously a leadership skill that you're developing is the ability to meet people that you've never met before, right? And communicate with them. That's a huge one to know, because the more people that you meet, the greater impact you're going to have on your campuses. All right, who else would love to chat? And again, this technique that I'm using, I can ask the most introverted person in the room, and by having them have the thing written on paper, I make it easier for that person to share. Because I didn't ask you what you thought. I asked you what was on your paper. I didn't ask you. Remember that? I said, hey, what's on your piece of paper, right? And that takes some of the pressure off of you sharing, because you're like, this is somebody else's, right? This isn't even mine, right? Right? And also, like, if you are an introvert and you are shy and you dread the idea of me calling on you, like the idea of me looking you in the eye and like asking you to share, if that's scary to you, that is awesome. That is such a good thing to know about yourself, right? But also, I said this in the last workshop, in order to grow, in order for muscles to grow, in order for leadership development to happen, in order for professional development to happen, muscles need to be sore before they get stronger. Right? So you need to be okay with pushing yourself. You need to be okay in that discomfort, right? So if the idea of me coming up to you and saying, will you share what's on your paper, you're like, please don't talk to me. If you feel that, you're totally normal. I bet half the room feels that right now. But I want you to be okay with that feeling, be totally cool with that, and just be like, that's the way I feel. feeling this is my body reacting to the world, right? You are okay and normal. You're okay, right? But being aware of it and being like, okay, if I do get called on and I live through it, it'll be easier the more and more this happens in my life, right? But you're taking on these leadership roles where you're going to be put in a position where you're going to be leading a meeting, you're going to be walking around campus promoting events. You're going to be walking up to strangers in a cafeteria and saying, will you come do this thing with me? That is scary. That is scary, but there's this thing called the liking gap, this study on first impressions done by psychology professors at 4 universities. You're going to love this. It's called the liking gap because they studied students who met for the first time and had never had a conversation before. And then they gave a survey to each person. Let's say you two never knew each other and you met for the first time, and I facilitated it. I gave you some questions to talk about. And then I gave you a survey where you graded each other. You gave yourself a rating, and you gave the person you talked to a rating, like on a scale. And guess what they learned? Guess what these psychology professors learned? Is that we all gave ourselves lower grades than the person that we talked to gave to us. Right? So everybody that we talked to gave us a higher grade than we gave ourselves. Right? So, and you gave a higher grade to the person you talked to than they gave themselves. And that's why they called the study the liking gap. People like you more than you give yourself credit for. What? That's awesome, right? So every time you walk up to somebody in the cafeteria, now that you know this thing called the liking gap, people like you more than you think they do. That's awesome, right? And as a student leader, you can now walk into any situation and strut in there and be like, you like me more than I thought you did. Will you come to this event? Right? Would you like to come to our Halloween party? Would you like to come to our Valentine's event? Would you like to come to this concert? Because word of mouth works way better than posters. It really does. A personal invite is way stronger than a poster or an email or a social media post, right? Right? So, let's say you are the leader. What's your first name? I can't see it. There's a little squishy in front of it.
Oh, sorry, Kushbu?
Kushbu. So Kushbu, if Kushbu comes up to, and what's your name? Marne. Marne? Okay. So Kushbu doesn't know Marne, but you're on the same campus. If Kushbu is able to walk up to Marne and say, Marne, I'm Kushbu. I'm the treasurer of the Valentine's party and the committee that puts on the Valentine's party. I'm going to be at this event and I'd love to see you there because we're going to make your own cookie. We're going to have a musician. It's just going to be really fun. You don't even have, it's not a date thing. It's just a fun community event, right? But by that eye contact and that communication, and you say, I will see you there, I'm going to see you there, there's a much greater chance of Marne going to the event versus Marne walking down a hallway in an academic building and seeing a poster, right? Now Marne has it like, oh, I know somebody who's going to be there, right? So this is really powerful for you to develop this skill to talk to somebody you've never talked to before. All right, that said, I'm going to ask you right now, when I say go, to turn to somebody you've never talked to before and share the thing that we're talking about. What it is that you know now that you didn't know when you first got here, right? We're already on this topic, right? You've learned something new in the last 2 days. So you can share the thing that you've written on your paper with somebody near you that you've never talked to before. Can I get an oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
All right, turn to somebody new, and it's okay to have a group of 3. That's okay. All right, go for it. Thank you. What I'm going to ask you now is, tell me what your new bestie just said. Right? Yeah.
We talked about how, what was that? I completely just forgot.
That's okay.
Short-term memory loss.
That's okay, that's okay. I'll come back to you. Yeah.
How not just important, but necessary and vital it is to have good leadership. Just like overall, having good leadership is really imperative to making the whole system function really
Right.
well. So, I don't know how to phrase
So,
that.
yeah, are you saying to develop leadership skills or just praying that there's a good leader in your committee?
No, actively working on developing good leadership skills all the time.
Okay, yeah, it is a journey. Like leadership development, nobody's a finished product, right? We're always in development, and we're never going to be perfect. I just want you to know, just as somebody who has been working my whole life to become a better something, right? There is no perfect, but work on progress. Just work on progress. Don't worry about perfection. Impossible as a human, right? Mathematical equations can be perfect and beautiful, but not humans, right? We're beautiful in our continual progress, right? So let's say important to have good leadership in your group, but also be open to knowing that it's important to be on a leadership journey, right? Okay, good. I'm just gonna put leadership as a big word, okay? What else did one of your friends share? Yeah.
It's the best Saturday of the week.
Yeah, that's something other. Oh my gosh, you're so good.
I feel like that mindset slips a lot of people, like just thinking that, just because of all, you see all the negativity and everywhere, just realizing that, like, we say it a lot in like soccer, so like, it might be a really crappy day, it might be raining and snowing while we're out there, like, it might suck that you have to. Yeah. It's a great day to play the sport that we love. It's a great day to be alive.
That's awesome. That's a great attitude, right? Right, and you influence the other people on your team. Your behavior has an impact on the people on your team. Right, your instrument matters to your band. Who said that? I remember hearing that somewhere recently. But what you say matters to your team. You have an impact on the people around you, right? That's awesome. Okay, best Saturday of the whole week. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about feedback, the importance of it, and how that can help you not waste resources and continue to improve.
Good. Be open to feedback. Is that what you mean, or
To
get feedback? Okay. Get feedback, right? That's really important, right? To get feedback. And one of the ways that I get feedback is by you reviewing the ed session, or you coming up to me afterwards and saying like, hey, I really didn't like it when you did this, or I really liked it when you did this. Like that's feedback in this setting, right? Okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, everybody go like this. Good. We're moving on now. We're moving on. We're happy. We're here together. We're student leaders. We're making an impact in the world. Okay. The Zildjian Cymbal Company. I'm a drummer, right? And Zildjian is this company that makes cymbals. They make cymbals that I beat on. And that's part of the reason I have somewhat of a hearing loss, because I've been banging on cymbals since 5th grade. They are the oldest company in the world. They started more than 400 years ago in Istanbul, right? Old Constantinople, right? Turkey, but it was before it was Turkey. It was the Ottoman Empire. And there was an emperor in the Ottoman Empire who wanted gold. So he hired these alchemists. And alchemists were these wizards, not really, they were like scientists, but with metal. And the challenge for an alchemist was to make gold out of other metals. Right? So the emperor wanted more gold, so he got all these alchemists together and he said, make me gold. And the guy named Avitus Zildjian was one of these guys. And he started trying to make stuff. He started to make stuff and he failed. No gold. Right? He failed, no gold. But in the hammering process of him beating out metal, he hit it one time and he liked the way it sounded. And then he put it on a stand and he made bigger ones and he hit it and he just liked the way it sounded. And the emperor had a marching band. And the marching band had drummers playing drums. The marching band had wind instruments making windy sounds, but they had no cymbals. Avitus Zildjian, with his metal that made nice noise, showed it to the marching band. And they said, ooh, that's a fun new sound. And they beat them together. And they took cymbals and they beat them together, and that's where cymbals became a part of the musical culture. And it started because this guy, Avitus Zildjian, was trying to make gold, and he messed up. But he created one of my favorite things in the world, cymbals that I get to bang on. And I get to play the paradiddle, and I get to hit them all, right? And I get to lose my hearing because of it. But this company is 400 years old. Avitus Zildjian is not here anymore. How did the torch get passed from generation to generation? Why is this company still in existence? What were the people that were there able to share with the new people coming in so that they could successfully keep the company going for this long? The company is now based in Boston, Massachusetts. It has moved from Turkey to Boston. And I'm excited for turkey next week. Different kind of turkey. Right? Right? So think about this. Something has been passed down over generations and generations. Right? in this company. Now let's think about your campus. It existed before you started there. And it most likely will exist after you're gone from there. Our goal today is think about how are we in our positions going to set up our organizations for success so that we leave a legacy, so that we make it better now for the next people who come in. Right? What can we do now to make it last another 400 years? Right? And here's what I know, is that you know things now in your role that you didn't know when you started. Right? So show me your pens. In your role, your current role in your organization, whatever your role is, you know things now that you didn't know when you started. And let's just even go back to the beginning of the semester. I would like you to write down a few things that you know now that you didn't know when you first started. And you can even frame it as, I wish I had known this about my role. I wish somebody had told me that this responsibility was required of me. Right? And that's something that you know now that you didn't know then. And in honor of your brilliant thinking, I will play you a song. For the sake of time, because we have, there's other things we're doing in conference. All right, now what are the so you wrote stuff down on your page because you've learned things on your own journey. You know things now that you didn't know then. Yeah, you're raising your hand already.
Oh, I was just gonna put it's like the whole thing with recruiting is like trying to get people to come to in your clubs, and not everyone has the same passion for it as you do. So you have to find and surround yourself with people. Like I run our student philanthropy council for Iowa, and it's hard to get people to want to be there, and it gets frustrating because it's like I know it can be a great atmosphere, I know it can be a great club, but you need people that want to be there and want to put in the effort as well. And it's hard sometimes to find that.
Okay, so for you thought it would be really easy because you liked it, right? It's something you were totally into, right? And that's really an important thing to be aware that, but this is why you have to cast a big net, right? This is why you have to cast a big net. So I'm going to talk about this topic just for a second, right? It's frustrating because you are so into something and you realize that other people aren't as into it. But guess what? There are people who are as into it, you just haven't found them yet, right? And this is why clubs form, right? So even if you're like the skateboarding club on your campus, but if nobody knows it exists, then they can't join, right? So this is part of the importance of you marketing and going out and meeting new people and growing your network. But it is frustrating. But it's also really important for you as a student leader to not be put off by the people who don't love what you're doing, right? And think about this from an artistic standpoint. You're a rock star, you're on a stage, not everyone's gonna like what you do. So yesterday in the opening keynote, I played a song, I'm in the mood for a good day, right? I wrote that song. I wrote it. Here's something I know though. Not everybody in the room liked it. A bunch of people did, but there were probably some people in the room that are like, I don't really like this style. I don't like his voice. I don't like acoustic music, right? And that doesn't stop me from playing it, right? I still have to go out there and play it for everybody because some people probably really like it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, thanks. All right. Okay. Yeah, but regardless of that, you have to be okay knowing that when you cast a wide net, some people are going to love it right away. Some people might take a little convincing, and some people aren't going to give a crap, right? And that was the same example with the paradiddle, right? Some of y'all got it right away. Some of y'all needed me to explain a little more, and some of y'all thought there was no hope, right? But in the context of you and a club and an organization, this is an example of why it's so important to get the word out there to as many people as possible, right? Because wouldn't it be a shame if on your watch, right? It would be a real bummer if on your watch, your organization fizzled because you did not find your replacement. One of your big jobs starting today is to search for your replacement. Oh, this is good. Did you find your replacement? Right there next to you. This is so good. What a beautiful transition. So what is the role that you're handing off?
Well, I'm part of Destination Share and like our union board, we have different like sections.
Yeah.
So I plan off-campus activities
Okay.
for our school, and I've seen years like, so I'm just like your position.
What year are you?
I'm a junior.
Oh my gosh, this is really great. So this is an example of the way it should be, right? This is an example of the way it should be, because you're still here and you can shadow, you can see what work you've done. And I don't know if the person who was in your position before was as awesome as you, right? To have this relationship with the incoming person, right? Oh, this is another example of it? Oh, that's so good, right? Now, this is so good. Yeah, your hand is up.
I thought we were done.
Yes, we can definitely be done, yeah. Yes, you can share what you know now that you didn't know then, yeah.
Oh yeah, well, how different, like how I learned is how different people require different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I work as a peer advisor in my student support services at
Sure.
my school, and I met a lot of different people. But at some point I went with the same approach, but there is a difference between every single person that I meet. Some of them are very open, and some of them you have to really take it out of them.
Sure.
And so like knowing that they all require different approaches.
I'm listening to you, I'm just gonna close the door.
No, you're good.
Don't stop talking. Don't stop talking. I'm easily distracted by children in hallways.
Yeah, just knowing that they all require different approaches is
Yeah.
can really help, and it just works in different ways.
Well, you said something really important. You said some people like they're willing to share right away. They're like blah 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 blah, and some people you have to dig it out of. Some of you in the room, I have to dig to get you to speak. Right? Think about that. It takes work, but that's the beauty of the instrument. Like everybody here is so different, and that's what makes it beautiful, right? It's like if every single person in this room has an opinion, has ideas, and that's evident when I asked you to write stuff down. I didn't see anybody not writing, right? So this is a way you can actually engage your entire room too, is using that idea to get the writing process of asking ideas and getting people to write it down. What else do you know now in your position that you didn't know then?
That leadership is a constant learning process. Like, no one has all the answers. Like, I used to think that like people were just either really good at being a leader or they weren't, but there is no leader that has like all the answers or knows what they're doing all the time.
Cool.
Constantly learning.
Yeah, that's a great attitude. Progress, development. Like, make your muscles sore at least once a week, right? Challenge yourself to grow, right? Push yourself a little bit, right? If the idea of walking into an ed session by yourself is really scary, what a great opportunity to do it, right? For the rest of the day. Find something where your friends are going and don't go to it, right? And if you did it just now, high fives to you. Psh, that was 10, sorry. High five. Psh. Yeah, go ahead.
Not about my paper, but I feel like fail safely is a good word to live by.
Yeah.
Like if you fail and you can't really be hurt by it, that's the best time to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in the context of being in college, like, I think fail safely is great, but I also don't think it's a failure, right? I think failure, only in the last century, so in the English language, failure wasn't used with humans. You had a failed experiment, you had a failed, like, yeast rising on your bread, like the yeast didn't take it was a failure. Failure was never applied to humans until like the last century. So you wouldn't have, like 200 years ago, nobody said, you're a failure. They would have said, your project was a failure, right? Not you, right? And we have done that to ourselves, y'all. So none of you should think of you like, so next time something that, like you are not, like maybe the thing you were working on fell apart and your tower fell to the ground. Oops, that's where failure worked. So if somebody calls you a failure, you kick him in the shin and you call me, okay? I'm not encouraging violence. Kick gently in the shin, okay? Bite their ankle, gently, okay?
Make mistakes safely.
Yes, yeah, exactly, great, that's great, okay. So these are really important things that you acknowledge that you've learned things now that you didn't know then, and I really want to instill in you the importance of you finding your replacement, right? Because you want to leave a legacy the way that Zilch's lasted 400 years. Your club and organization, you want it to last long after you're gone. Because my guess is, raise your hand if you'd like to graduate. Raise your hand if you'd like to graduate. Okay, that's pretty much the whole room, okay? Except you didn't raise your hand.
I did.
Oh, you did, okay, you were back down, okay. But you also, because of who you are and because you're here at this conference, because of your involvement, you want to go back for homecoming in a couple of years to know that your organization is still thriving, right? So really think about what you can do now to help the future. What can you do now? And maybe that's documenting the things that you're doing. Are you writing down all the things that you, I just asked you to write down things you didn't know, that you know now, right? I asked you to write down things that you know now that you didn't know then. But now I'm going to ask you to make a list of things that you wish you had known. I really want you to dig into that. What do you wish you had known before you started your job? based on what you're writing down right now, how can you set your successor up for success? I would love to be in this room next year with your replacement, and I ask the question, what do you wish you knew now that you didn't know then? And they're like, nothing. The person who was in this position before left me with all the tools. I hit the ground running because they left everything for me. They showed me how to do stuff. I never met them, but look, there's a binder with all the things that they did over the last 2 years. There's a record of what they did. And this thing, they called it a transition binder. And in the transition binder, it has all the passwords to our social media accounts. It has versions and PDFs or physical copies of the marketing that we've used in the past to give them ideas. We wrote down things that didn't go well in an event so that they could maybe experiment differently next time they try this event. Right? This is really important for you to keep a document of what you're doing, right? So that when you pass it on at the end of the semester, you remember what you've done, right? So there's a big takeaway from today. Keep track of what you're doing, right? So that you can share it. How can you set your successor up for success? And one of the things that I love is that when you get to meet your successor or your predecessor, right? Predecessor, it's a tough word. When you're saying successor and predecessor at the same time. All right, would you help me by handing all these out to my friends in the room? And would you help me by handing all these out to all the people in the room? And you can just do it by putting 4 at the end of the table. You don't have to individually do it. You can just say, here, row, here are your 4. And that'll go faster. Is there anybody else in the room that loves handing things out?
That's my job.
Oh, it is your job. Thank you so much. You can do those. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. And these have a front and a back. At least they all have a front and a back. So this is a tool that I'm giving to you so that you can use these. This is going to be great for you that already are in this position, right? Right? So take a second and check these out. So raise your hand if you're brand new to your position, right? Is anybody who has their hand up right now, is your predecessor already gone?
Yep.
They are? Did they leave you any tools?
Nope.
All right. Yeah. Do you want your successor to say that about you next year when you're in this room? Nope. Do you want someone to say that about you? Nay, nay. You want to be known as somebody who really set people up for success. Yeah, nay, nay. Yeah. All right. Using this tool, and this is just a sample of, you might create your own questions that work better, right? But the fact that the incoming and the outgoing are right there with each other, you can now go over this worksheet together, right? But your advisor might know who was there in your position last year. Your advisor might know who was in the position unless your advisor is brand new, right? So your advisor would know how to contact that person. It is absolutely okay for you as the newbie in your position to reach out to the person who graduated. It is absolutely appropriate. I want to make sure you're hearing what I said. It is absolutely okay for you to reach out to somebody who's already graduated. And if that idea is intimidating to you and scary, good. Those are just feelings, and I'm glad you have them. Right? But that person experienced things last year in your position, and they didn't know they were supposed to leave you equipped to succeed. They just wanted to graduate and move on and go play bass in Def Leppard, right? Whatever it is they're doing now, I don't know. But they're doing something else on the planet. But it is okay for you to outreach to them, or it is okay for you to use this questionnaire to ask your advisor the same question, because maybe they can help you with the answers, right? So really use this tool to make the magic happen. And what I love about it is I've also given you sort of a sample of how to do a meeting, right? If you have the ability to have an officer transition meeting, this is great, okay? If you're the person in charge, you're giving an opening statement of why you came together. Number 2 is really important. Connection activity. I gave you all an opportunity to turn towards somebody and have a conversation. That was a connection activity. So yesterday and today, I've done a bunch of things that have helped people make a connection. This is really important for you and your role to help others make a connection and for you to connect with other people on campus. I also want you to know that I'm going to encourage you to never ever use the word icebreaker. Connection activities are icebreakers. Just don't use the word and don't put it on a piece of paper. Because if on your agenda it says the second thing you're doing is an icebreaker, people might not come to the meeting. If you think about that, you're like, oh gosh. So what I like to do is I'm like, hey, we're gonna do an activity right now, or we're gonna do an exercise, we're gonna play a game. But if I said to you all right now, guess what, friends? We're gonna do an icebreaker. Like some of you in the room are like, hell no. Right? You're like, hell no, I'm not doing an icebreaker. But you'd probably do an activity. Yeah, you'd probably do an exercise or a game. Right? Not a physical exercise, but a mental exercise, a reflection exercise. Right? So I think language is very important in your position, right? And I know that there's a lot of facilitators here that use the word icebreaker. Icebreakers matter, they're very important, but I've learned over time and working with groups that steering away from that word is awesome. Doing them is very important, but using that word, and if you use it now in your organization, maybe tell them what I said. If your advisor uses it all the time, that's fine. I mean, they just maybe haven't thought about it in this way. You will get more engagement, you will get more participation when you don't use the word icebreaker. This is good. You can use this as a sample, you can come up with your own thing, but it is very important to do this thing, to fill out these surveys so that you can pass down the information that you know. All right, here we are at the tail end of our workshop today. What is something that you know now that you didn't know 40 minutes ago? Is there anybody that would like to share what you wrote down? Okay, no, I'm going to hold off because I've heard your voice.
Oh,
I've heard your voice. I love your voice. I would like to see a hand come up of a voice I've not yet heard in the room. Go ahead.
I guess it's that you can't really force students to participate in something that they don't want to.
Yeah.
You have to just continue to reach out and find those people that actually are interested.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that you're going to have to build up the resiliency for this, right? Because you like stuff and you want other people to like stuff. It makes you feel good about what you like. Right? Think about this though, from the context of like a guy with a booth in the marketplace, right? I want everyone to like me. I want everyone to like me. I want to visit every campus here. I'm going to leave here and the majority of campuses aren't going to work with me. More will not work with me than will work with me. I'm still here. I can't let that hurt. That's just the reality, right? But I'm here casting my net out to the world. Like I played my song for everybody. Not everyone's going to like it. And I think that's really important for you as this rock star student leader to understand that and be cool with it. Because if I set out yesterday morning to please the whole room, I would not have done a good presentation. And even today, like I'm being myself. Like some of you might really like my personality. Some of you might not like my personality. That doesn't change that that's my personality. Right? So that's a really valuable lesson, what you just said, right? But you have to continue to be okay. And it's not rejection, right? It's not that they're rejecting you, it's just that they like something else. That's all it is. It's not rejection. They just like something else. And I've been dumped before, and that feels like rejection. Ashley, my senior in high school girlfriend who broke up with me for joining the captain of the football team. It wasn't that she didn't like me, she just liked him better. Okay, she it still sucks, right? My whole first album's about that. All right, what else do you know? Like, what else is to take away from today's workshop? Yeah.
Just to be creative. With an example that you give is like with developing ideas. Like it doesn't have to be a standard. Oh, what do you guys think? You know.
Yeah.
I know, like sometimes I can get stuck in like structure and order because it's like student government. So it doesn't have to be boring. Like we could make it fun. So.
Yeah. Good. I mean, what you just said is, what do you guys think? Right? What do you guys think? If you say that to a group of people, you might get the most extroverted person every time to raise their hand, right? But there's 10 other people in the room with really intelligent thoughts, with really great ideas. And by using the technique that I use today, of asking everyone to write it down, you're going to get an answer from everybody, right? So remember that. It's like we want to get input, right? We want to get feedback, right? We want to know more information. That's why we form a band, right? We want a band because different instruments make the music better, right? So but this technique of brainstorming and getting ideas is a great takeaway, if that's a takeaway, right? But all right, what other takeaway from today, if you don't mind me asking, because I love to learn. We have a couple more minutes. What do you know now that you didn't know that? Yeah.
The importance of creating like a transition binder. That was something that I didn't personally get in my position, so
Right.
I think that would be very helpful and
Right.
Just how important that could be.
Right. Okay, so what do you all think would be important to include in a transition binder? Now wait, what would I say right now? Everybody take a minute right there. Right, but we don't have time for that right now, but I saw hands go up immediately. Right, what would be important to include in a transition binder? Examples, yeah.
So we have a transition binder.
Do you?
And it goes all the way back to the first ever alum of our sorority, so
That's awesome.
all the way to 2000. And we have contacts of every alumni of like importance necessarily, like who knew something.
Yeah.
And we still are in contact with the founder of our group. Like she
That's
comes up
wonderful.
and visits all the time.
Tell you what, if you are all willing to give emails, I will email you all like a top list of what to put in a transition binder, and I will make sure to do that before Christmas, because after this, it's Thanksgiving and I'm taking the week off.
As you should.
Yeah, I had 5 events this week before the conference. Yeah, I had 5 in one day on 2 campuses in Massachusetts. And then I went to Maine and did one, and then I went to Cape Cod and did one. And I spoke to MASFA, which is the Massachusetts Financial Aid Professionals. So it was like 260 higher ed professionals who all give money away. I love that. All right, I'll pass it around. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to say name, school, and then email. Let's do that. Please write legibly.
No promises.
I know. But you can also, this is my Instagram. If it's easier for you to just send me your email on Instagram, you can do that as well. Email. Okay, thanks. And I'll send you the things to include in a binder and other resources. Okay, I'll send you the PDFs of these things so you can print more of them. Yeah.
So I'm the president of the Student Nursing Association Club on our campus, and I'm still pre-core nursing. So I'm not even in like the core nursing classes until spring. And I think something that I ran into this semester is like there weren't many people to run, and the previous group was very like cliquey and nichey, and but it seemed like everyone I talked to kind of assumed that people already knew what the club is, how the club runs, what you do, and they assumed. So then when I would reach out and ask questions, I almost felt like I was met with like, why don't you know that? Or, well, this is just what it is.
Yeah,
so you don't know
right.
if you don't ask, but it was also interesting to me because I am so brand new, and it was just like all these underlines of assumptions that kind of everyone else in the club already knew what was going on, and I'm supposed to lead this club, and I have no idea what's going on.
And that's why I said to you, advocate for yourself, because there's no way for you to know what you don't know, right? So you really have to advocate for your own information, for your own knowledge, and if somebody makes you feel or is trying to make you feel badly, and they react like, oh my god, I can't do it, they're just a shitty person, okay? It has nothing to do with you, they're just a shitty human.
I really like the idea of the transition binder, or coming up with some sort of like, hey, these are the things that topically you should kind of know about. So.
All right, so good, thank you. Yes, you can set. I mean, for the rest of the history of humankind, your club is in good hands, right? So remember the Zildjian. They've been less than 400 years, and it's because they've been able to pass on the information, right? You could be the first person to start this binder. You could be the first person to make sure that 10 years, 20 years from now, your club and organization is just rocking, right? And if you feel right now the way that our friend does in the nursing program, right, that's good to know that, right? It's good to know that about where they left you so that you can leave the next people in a much better position and find somebody. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being awesome. Hang out for a while. I'm not in a hurry. I think the next event's right at the top of the hour, right? I think. Yes. And it's a showcase, or?
No,
Oh, it's another ed session. Okay. I don't know if anybody needs to be in this room next, so I'll have to clean up and get out of the way in case. Is there somebody in here?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Marcel. We're buds. It'll be fine. All right, y'all. Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. And if you could, just turn to the people around you and say, "You make us better. You make us better. You make us better. You make us better. You make us better." Fist bumps and high fives, you will. Right on. Thanks, everybody.